You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in our friend, Milana Dostanitch, Senior of Counsel at Lipsky Lowe LLP in New York City, focusing on employment law, and co-founder of IWILL, Inspiring Women in Law League. Milana, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here, finally.
Yeah, this is going to be a tremendous episode. Before we get into it, I do want to give a shout out to our business sponsor, our business partner and sponsor, Lex Reception. Less admin and more time for you. Switch off knowing your calls are covered by Lex Reception. From answering calls and messages in real time to appointment scheduling, your clients are going to receive the care and support they need with Lex Reception. Their legal answering specialists are on hand 24/7, so you'll never miss a call or a future case. With custom scripting and software that can seamlessly integrate with your current workflow, Lex will make sure every potential client gets fantastic service from the very first call. Lawyer Stories recommends Lex Reception. You can get $250 off with your first month. So go ahead and give them a call. Mention Benny Gold and Lawyer Stories, and let's get you that discount. Don't miss a case when you're out over the weekend or at night. All right, Milana,
Wow.
Back to you.
I may be their first customer. That sounds great.
Yeah, no, it's a great. They're really cool over there. And they actually give money to 1%. They give to like global conservation and animals, and they're all into that. So they're cool. You should check them out. We could talk more about that though.
Totally.
But let's talk about you, Milana. This is what it's all about. I'm super excited to have you. And we met each other live and in person at the Shout Out to Level Up Legal. Giving them a little shout out there in New York City. We had an event there. I did some live podcasting. It was a great experience. And I convinced you to come out. You came to one of the events and then you came to the next one. It was super cool to meet you. So thanks for coming out and like hanging out with me a little bit.
Oh, no, totally. I mean, thanks for getting me out. I mean, we met like years before, prior to pandemic, but online.
Well, I was going to bring that up. So this has been truly an incredible experience for me. And part of my journey with Lawyer Stories is like now coming back and meeting a lot of the people, because I launched on Instagram in 2017. And Milana, you submitted your story. I was going through the archives and Lawyer Stories, my Gmail. It was August 2nd, 2020. So the pandemic. So we've basically known each other for like over 3.5 years. And then here you come in. I'm like, wow, all right, you're a real person, and we got to hang out. It was cool.
Yeah, no, it is very cool. I'm gonna write down August 2020.
Yeah,
it will be like a birthday friendship.
It is. Online. I love it. And so actually, we might have been like in New York last summer around that time together.
Yeah, exactly.
So your lawyer story is actually tremendous, and you're doing some amazing things. Like you have such a fire and pursuit, and you're very inspiring person. I mean, that's probably why you have the IWILL League right now, a co-founder, which is amazing. We're going to talk about that soon. I've seen that thing, your group just kind of do some really cool things, including your newsletter, which is very, very cool. So let's start with your lawyer story that like everybody wants to hear, right? So little humbling beginning here. You were 15, living without electricity in Cyprus for 4 months. What can you tell us about like that moment you decided to be a lawyer?
Well, I mean, moments like that, and I mean, as background, it was after my father had died and we were involved in litigation, and litigation was so protracted and so expensive over inheritance. So I ended up living without electricity due to that, which, one way to use law as a evil tool. But the thing is, I didn't know at that time much about the world, right? But one thing that seemed like it wasn't fair, right? That there was nothing I did that would have deserved this level of consequences of suffering. But I think whatever age you are, I think many of us find ourselves in a place where we have to decide in a moment of crisis, usually, who we want to become, right?
I love that. That's a quote, right? That's a quote for I Will. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's well, because I think that's when your character is tested, and that's when you get to pivot, right? You can pivot into despair or a victim mentality, or blaming everybody else or the times you're living in, right? Or you can say, well, what if I can change my own situation, and what if I can use my experience to change it for others? And that's exactly how it happened. At the depths of despair, I was extremely angry, especially at the legal system, because that's where I saw as the root of the problem, right? Because lawyers were in the center of what was causing my mom.
And just to go back, it was because like you had this inheritance from your dad.
Yeah.
And like you had brothers, but they were trying to like deny you that. Is that
exactly
accurate? Yeah.
Exactly. I hope they get to listen to this episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking. But yeah, no, it's exactly that. I had half brothers from my father's first marriage. I mean, they're still alive and well, and they challenged the inheritance, because obviously whoever keeps the younger child, because I was 13 at the time he died, and they were in their late 20s, like 29 and maybe 35. So because of such disparity in age, whoever was my guardian would have gotten to control the money. And so they figured out that that's what they wanted to do. But of course, my mother wasn't going to lose custody of me. So then everything was frozen in there. And then they thought they would win by starving us out, but that's not what happened. I decided that I wanted to become the other force. I was like, well, if there's these bad kind of lawyers, right, that pursue you and take cases like this, there is other kind of lawyers. And so I thought, I'm going to go to a place. This was in Cyprus, and I'm half Russian, half Serbian. So, I didn't really see many free women that didn't need support of a family or money or husbands. So where I did see it, I thought was in Hollywood movies, so I was like, I'm going to go to America and I'm going to get an education, and it's the land of the free, and it's the land of opportunity. And if I work really, really hard, I'm going to be able to prevent this from happening to me again, but also prevent this from happening to other people. And that's what I did. I studied hard. I got a scholarship to go to Trinity University. And then eventually
to go to where? Say that again. Trinity, right?
Trinity in Texas.
Trinity in Connecticut. I'm in the Northeast. It's not the one in Connecticut. It's the one in Texas, right? So what was I just kind of want to know the gap, like the procedure, like when you were in Cyprus, you were like, I'm going to the USA. Like, what was that like? Like, how did you get there? Like, did you
Oh my God.
You don't have to go, like maybe in like a paragraph. I know it's
a
story in itself, but.
So it was pretty difficult because the US education is extremely expensive, as I learned. So I had to research, and back then, this is 2005, 2004, not everything is accessible online. So my mom had no idea how to do this, and obviously she was busy. So I actually consulted my librarian, Miss Flynn. Big shout out to Miss Flynn, and she helped me. She showed me that there's university. She told me about the States. I've never been. I mean, I was literally, Cyprus is 1 million people. Okay, like I'm on an island in the Mediterranean. Like I had no idea about the US, but I was like. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to do it. And so I applied for as many universities that I could afford, because there was like an application fee, which I didn't have.
Like, how did you find like Trinity in Texas?
So I met a boy from Texas who said to me, it's an oil state. They have some subsidy. You may get better education there than going to New York and California, where all the rich international students want to go. And it's very popular. So try that. And he was right. And interestingly, Trinity had a whole department dedicated specifically to recruiting international students, because their goal was to have 10% international students. So when Trinity wrote me a letter, they were like, come here, be the star we need. Like, we need your perspective. We want to hear what you have to say. Tell us your story. tell our students how it is out there, blah, 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 blah.
And
so
you just found it by
so,
Googling, or this boy told you about the school?
no, the Miss Flynn told me
Miss
about
Flynn told you about the school.
the list of the schools that are available. And
Okay.
then, you know, when I looked at the rankings and I always say it's like upon belief, you know, I had a belief, I had a guiding star, and then a million tiny dominoes had to fall just in the right place at the right time. Because, you know, since then I haven't really met, I haven't, you know, met like every, you know, like Southern inspired institutions that had like a budget to bring international students, give them full scholarships. You know, it was just a moment in time.
Yeah.
Trinity, I think, still has a program like this, but I think to a lesser extent.
So
But
it was like a tuition-free sort of thing, like they brought.
yeah, I got almost a full scholarship.
How long was the whole process from like when you started it in
like a normal application process for a college student?
Have you been back to like to Cyprus or Russia, or we don't have to talk about that? I just like a yes.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Have you?
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
You know, Cyprus is bittersweet for me in many ways. You know, place that raised me, but also it was somewhere where I had a lot of struggles. So for a while, I didn't go back. Similar with Russia, you know, Serbia, the same, because my dad is Serbian. And also, you know, you have to remember, because the way I immigrated, I came as a student, and then eventually I got a work visa. So there were large periods of time where I couldn't leave the US, you know? So there was like 3, 4, 5 years where because of the bureaucracy of the immigration process, I just had to sit here. I was legal. I had the status to be here, but to enter and re-enter, you needed extra permits that required extra procedures that are extremely grueling. So, you know, there's been times where I was in the US when my family needed me, where my brother got married, when he had a baby, when my grandparents were sick, and I couldn't leave because if I left, it may be that I would abandon my dream, you know? So
do you have any family here?
I have no family in the US.
Wow. No. Okay. So, okay, I didn't mean to cut you off. That's
no,
that's incredible. So, you know, your story is sort of like, you know, I love these stories. I mean, just because I recognize how hard you had to, like, I try to have empathy. Obviously, it was, you know, was born here and stuff, but like I try to really like see how hard that you worked to get here and like how much it means for you to be here. Like, what about, so when you get to the school Trinity in Texas,
yeah,
when did you know you were like, okay, like I need to get into like a school in New York City. I need to like go to that next city. I need to go to Fordham, or I need to like keep going on with my education. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I did enjoy Texas and Trinity. They did give me a platform. You know, I was like I don't know, I was like a vice president of this. I was a senator of the student body.
Nice, okay.
I gave speeches on the lawn. I don't know, like
really?
I did the most. Yeah, I did the most.
That would make some amazing content now if you had like any video of that. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, there was no videos. I still had a flip phone, but there's, you know, it's somewhere in the archives. They profiled me as their student that said world ambition, something like that. I studied Mandarin. Okay. I swear to God, okay. I can send you those. I have a pamphlet. I have like 10. Yeah, I was studying Mandarin. I was studying Spanish. I had double degrees. I did the most. But eventually,
Milana was at Trinity, and all you did was this, and they brought over whatever you needed, right?
Well, kind of. No, I did work hard. It was actually very.
No, I know. So tell me about. I'm curious about like the transition to Manhattan.
Yeah, so I mean, when the school came to an end, you know, I realized that I'll tell you how it is. I felt that I was told once that I wasn't white enough to succeed in Texas, and I wasn't Christian enough to succeed in Texas, even though technically I'm not religious, but technically I'm Orthodox Christian, and I am Caucasian, in fact. But I realized that, you know, there's certain things I need to go to the immigrants I needed to go to places that were a lot more diverse and had diverse mentality and were accepting of foreigners more than perhaps Texas was. So I thought, where is that next place? And I was like, what is it? Oh, it's New York City. New York City is the top of the world, right? So I picked schools and I applied in New York City. I got waitlisted, I think, at Columbia, and then I got some scholarships at like Brooklyn or whatever.
At Columbia is not. I mean, you could still wear the sweatshirt around if you got to wait.
No, I can't. I would die to go to Columbia, but I never got in. I never got.
Oh, wait, this is pretty good. Okay, so you went to Fordham.
Yeah.
That's great.
But hold on, I was also waitlisted at Fordham. You think it's this easy? They waitlisted me in Fordham. Okay, and the backstory for that is that my last semester in Trinity, I got severely sick. So I had like really good grades, everything was fine. And then I got really sick and was diagnosed with like an abscess in my throat that they were like, what? I was sick for like 6 months. So my grades went to B- and my grade point average went to like 3.4 in one semester.
Oh,
because
no, a 3.4? Some of us law students
3.45 actually. Or
Okay,
something.
well, you know, some of us law students, we wouldn't have minded a 3.4, okay?
No, this is the undergraduate. So
undergraduate.
Fordham also waitlisted me. But wait, but let me tell you.
Okay.
I called Fordham and I said, listen, I want to go to the school. I think this is a perfect fit for me. And they said, prove it. And I was like, how? And they said, come see us. So this one admissions officer, by the way, I called Fordham 10 times. They didn't pick up. They didn't care. And then this one man, shout out to Michael Watson. He picked up the phone and he said, yeah, prove it. Come here. So I went and I walked into his office. I did the tour. I walked into the office and I said, I have a dream. I want to come here. This is what I want. And I'm going to do international law. I'm going to change life. Please help me. And he said, I'm not even like, I don't have all the strings, but I believe you. I'm going to do what I can. And so he got me off the wait list and I got the acceptance letter and he said, just promise me you will do what you said. You will help people. And I said, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And that was another turning point, another pivot.
Wow.
He took a chance on me and he gave me the opportunity to go.
To go to Fordham.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And, you know, it's not any small feat getting a position in a law school at, you know, when in New York City. I mean, New York City is New York City, right? So you're in, what was like, did you have like an apartment there? This was, I didn't even have this written down. I'm just curious, like where did you live first? Like when you were in New York City?
Oh my God, you won't believe, well, you will believe, but
I believe it.
I actually lived in a corridor.
Like a hallway?
A hallway. I lived in a hallway for like 2.5 years. I lived in a hallway.
School of like where? Like
No. It was an apartment upper West Side that was 3 apartments, but it was cut. And so when it was cut, it was cut in an awkward way where like the hallway had like this extra like alcove space that wasn't like used for anything. So instead, these actors were renting it. These students from like Yale and whatever, they were renting it, and there was this extra space, and they're like, "Well, you could have it." So what we did, we took a bunch of IKEA shelves, like bookshelves, and we strung them with a string, and that was my 4th wall.
Okay. That's what they do in New York. They build walls, right? Like, so, all right. So you go through Fordham, you make it through Fordham. You have like one law job when you graduate, and now, you know, you're at like a pretty big, reputable, Lipsky Lowe. Like, so let me ask you this. You're doing employment law. You're a known employment lawyer. You help people with like discrimination and all that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Why employment? Like, why not like immigration or something like that, or criminal, something that you sort of had some background like dealing with a little bit?
Sure. I mean, look, so I wanted to do human rights, right? So I wanted to do human rights, and I realized I would be like, unless I was very somehow lucky, I would be just writing like memos for Guantanamo Bay or against it or whatever, right? So I went to a mentor or rather a professor, and I said, I don't know what to do because what I thought I wanted to do isn't what I want to do. And he said, have you thought about employment law? And I said, well, why? And he said, employment law is applied human rights. And he's like, because people have a right to be treated fairly, to be paid fairly, to be respected at work, and their gender, their religion, skin color shouldn't matter. But unfortunately, that's not the reality for most people or many people. Okay. So I think this would align with what you want and maybe even give quicker impact. And I gave it a shot, and exactly how I felt. I was dealing with, and I'm still dealing with, complex issues, where something that you can't change about yourself becomes the main point why you're mistreated or why you're fired, right? And that's extremely hurtful. And people, no matter how educated or how uneducated you are, they feel gaslit, they feel undermined. So, it is my honor to fight for them, because that's how I felt when I was little, right? Like I felt like this like piece of sand in a storm, right? Like just not consequential. But I hope my clients find their voice, stand up for their rights, and we fight a really good fight,
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So you are an adjunct professor at Fordham. I sort of forgot to ask, like, what your, and I don't mean to backstep, but like what your law school experience was like. That's the only question I'm going to ask again about law school, but
Yeah, yeah,
because you came over and you were like the superstar at like this school in Texas,
yeah.
and then you went to the big city, and so I'm kind of curious, like, what was your law school experience like?
I was not a superstar in law school. I
Okay.
was, I was not. I mean, okay, look, I it turned out actually that I couldn't ever finish the reading, like I'm the slowest reader.
Oh gosh, tell me
It,
about
it
it.
you know what I mean? Like, so I mean, I don't want to say I have dyslexia, but I have definitely some sort of learning disability that I could never diagnose. And so I was like, why did I do this to myself? So the first year was extremely difficult.
I know that so much. Like, why did I do this to myself? Sitting there in
Yeah,
the
and I was like,
library,
I
2
can't,
p.m. on a sunny Saturday, looking out the
yeah,
window, and you're like, what have I done? All right. So,
totally. But the thing is, I was on a student visa, so I couldn't like pivot. I couldn't pivot, and I'm
right.
5 years into this project. I'm like, I can't do this. So first year was tough. Second year, I stopped listening to this kind of competitive thing. If you don't get your grades up on the first one, then you're nobody. I thought to myself, what are they going to call me if I graduate last of Fordham class? A lawyer. What will they call me if I
That's right.
graduate first of Fordham class? A lawyer.
That's
So
right.
second year, I was like, criticism be damned, grades be damned. I'm
Yeah.
going to do what I always do, is march to the beat of my own drum. So
That's
then I
right.
started getting involved in trial advocacy, taking a bunch of clinics, getting hands-on experience, going to the courts, helping clients.
That's great.
And my law experience changed. I just got out of the mindset of this narrative I was hearing, that first law grades,
Yeah.
and then second and third year, I loved it. I had a much, much better time.
That's awesome. Okay. So, and you're teaching now, like legal writing and all that at Fordham, or?
Well, actually, this semester and last semester I wasn't, but
Okay.
because I mean they went back in person, and I now moved to Puerto Rico. But
Are
hopefully
you
they will.
permanently in Puerto Rico or no?
Well, I mean, what's permanent?
I know, but are you
What
like,
in this life is permanent?
all right, fine, but I'm not permanent, but are you like really just like, do you have like a space in New York and you're out there for a month, or I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm in New York every month
Okay. So
for
there you
all
go.
the Ivy League events, and for work and
Okay.
birthdays and whatever it is. So I'm in New York
Gotcha.
very.
All right.
Yeah.
So did you have a mentor at all?
Um,
Like, did you meet anybody along the way? I mean, you don't have family members there, right? So
no.
did you meet anybody along the way? And like, what would you say the importance of a mentor is?
Well, I think mentors are extremely important. I did not meet one person. And even now, I don't think I have a mentor, even though, how about this? When I didn't find a single mentor, I started looking for advice from many, kind of like a mosaic, The problem with that advice with that approach, of course, is because you have to be careful who you take advice from. And now that I mentor younger lawyers or whoever wants to be mentored, I always say, look at the life and the choices of your mentor. And if that life doesn't look like the life you want to have or the career you want to have, then don't take that advice. In
Right.
fact, do the opposite of that advice, I didn't always know that. I know that now, but I didn't have a mentor, but I did ask for help. And that's one of the things when people tell me, like, they ask me, what would you tell us from your story? What is the biggest lesson? And I always say, knock on closed doors, knock until they open, right? And find your supporters, find someone who will open the door. For me, I've already mentioned some,
Yeah.
Miss Flynn, Michael Watson. There was another one, Priscilla Duran, there were so many people that did their part for my story, but that's because I had a burning determination that my cause was a worthy one. I had a belief that I would and I could. And so when they saw someone determined, like, the universe opens for you when you have a dream,
Love it. I love that. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
true.
And like that, just like we're seeing the universe in back of you right now, right? Like
Exactly.
it's opening for you.
And a star on my neck.
Speaking of that's right. So speaking of that sort of thing, I want to move on to I Will now. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
so we're talking about the amazing background, Milana. Really, like, so
Thank
much
you.
credit to you and everything you've done for yourself. So Inspiring Women in Law League. What gave you the idea and when did you find it? Or co-found
Well, yeah. Look, you know, I am an employment attorney, right? I work with women that are underpaid, discriminated, microaggression, what have you. You know, from lowest, from smallest claims to very, very big egregious claims. So for 10 years, I've been listening to women being like, is it me? Or is it the system? You know, so then eventually you're like, I don't think it's you. I think it's the system, right? So I had this like belief that something is wrong. And then I had discovery and facts and depositions and kind of hard evidence that was backing out the other floating statistics I was seeing in the world, right? So then the pandemic happened, and I was having conversations with my fellow like law friends, you know,
Yep.
and they were all women, and they were all having a very hard time. We were working a lot. We were in different parts of our profession, but we all felt under supported. Like there was nowhere in our job we could go to support. No women's committee really gave us support because you had to pretend like you have your shit together. I'm sorry, you have your stuff together, you know? So we started having these conversations, and I was like, oh my God, I'm having the same conversations with these different women. They don't know each other. Let me introduce them, because then they'll gain the confidence that it's not just them. They're not alone. They're not the weak link. This is happening to all of us, and none of our jobs or none of our traditional legal institutions are supporting us. So I put us in a group chat. They got to know each other. Then they added friends, and friends added friends.
Really?
And then
Group chat on like a phone or something?
No? Yeah, it was a WhatsApp chat. I called it Inspiring Women in Law. The day was, I think it was like February 2020 or 2021.
Oh my goodness. So that's a while ago.
Yeah, we've been around for a while. I just never thought that, you know, I had other things I needed to do in my life. I didn't think it was going to grow as much as it did.
What gave you the fire to like keep going with it? Like make it into like a literal like league? Like, I mean, you're hosting these incredible looking events. If anybody who's ever looked at your newsletter, like you know, it's so nice. I mean, you include your members, you have their articles, you have quotes, you had a nice little like letter from your grandmother. You know, it's just like, it's a great, like it's
so hard,
aesthetically pleasing, like item. And I know we're going to work together, so just to throw that out there, but like, so like what inspires you to like keep doing this? Like, there's got to be something that says, I got to just like, I found something here. Like, I got to keep going with this. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to see truly other women succeed. I want to see them realize how great they are. I want to see them uplifted. And, you know, I attend all kinds of empowerment institutes, programs of all kinds for women in law. And they just state the statistics that are depressing, that in 20 years, the, you know, equity partners and management, you know, it's still single digits, even though more women are graduating from law school than men, but the mobility is bad and we all drop off in 10 years. Now they figured out it's not because of the babies. It's not because we're childbearing. Even women without babies still drop out. So, you know, when I hear these statistics that women find themselves, they work so hard to become a lawyer, finish 2 universities, and then they are unhappy, right? And look, I mean, it's not just women. Law is hard for everyone. As you know, we're like 4th or 5th most suicidal profession. We're most likely to be depressed. But I was thinking, okay, so where are the solutions? You know, I keep on hearing the statistics, and you keep on telling us that one day will change when big firms or culture changes, but you know, we're going to be old and gray and die by the time this happens. So I thought, okay, so why don't we start from the other end? I'm tired of hearing about the problem. I'm tired of it. Okay. I don't want to fix the huge mammoth, you know, Goliath of a problem. Right. I want to use what we have. We're smart. We're powerful. We are collaborative. We're, you know, we're warm. We're all kinds of magical. Why don't we put that together, create a society, community where we can act fast, when we can do projects, go to panels, pitch publicity, you know, write a book. We're about to write a book together. Like literally, I spoke to a ghostwriter yesterday and we're starting that. Yeah. So I just said together we can do anything we want. And the pie is big, both like for all of us and everyone who's not part of our community. You know, I believe that the more you create, the more opportunity you have, right? So that is my fire. I just believe that our individual choices matter. Okay. If I had one tagline for my whole life, is that our choices matter. I always believed that my choice would matter, and that's what empowered me to make courageous choices, right?
Okay.
Someone smarter than me, I don't remember who, they said one of the biggest ways to give up power is believe you have none, right?
Right.
So
True. Wow. I like
yeah.
that.
So I believe we have power. I believe that. So I'm just making it happen. I'm just doing it in the community. It does it like I don't have to do anything. They are amazing, and once they believe in this spirit, they just uplift each other up.
So tell us, like, when did this kind of become formalized, like, as I Will? And
Yeah.
tell us, like, what events you've had so far. But first, like, when did this sort of, like, become a formalized, like, inspiring league of women
Yeah.
who, like, get together and lift each other up?
Well, I mean, look, from day one, okay? From day one, it was the group chat was called Inspiring Women in Law.
Yep.
But I decided to open it up to the public and not just like a referral, friends of friends of friends, last year. And we spent a good time of the first half of the year thinking about it, but we launched officially and open to the public in September 2023. And since then, we've had more than 70 people apply.
Wow. So you have an application process?
Yeah, we do. We have it's in our social media and it's in our landing page.
Okay.
You just submit a quick application. We ask you a bunch of questions, and then there's onboarding. We do onboarding twice a month. We introduce, we do a Zoom call. Before we did it one by one, but now we have so many people applying that we're doing it in groups. Yeah, and we tell them about our mission. We tell them about rules of engagement, like in that, give back to the women, treat them like your sisters, trust them. Like the benefit of this is worth it, and then they join.
So is there a theme in the attorneys that you see joining, like these women? Like, is there like a theme? Like, do you see like who are the women joining?
So, we have all kinds of women join. The ones that I think that get the most benefit are solo practitioners,
Okay.
or ones that are growing their own business. So it's the entrepreneurial type, because they have to figure out a lot of logistics, and usually they don't have the support of community.
Okay.
Because they're working by themselves, or they're supervising people, but they can't like go to them for advice. We also see corporate women, because they're in such a hierarchical structure and pitted against each other, or don't have that many women in the same level to go to, that also come and they have the same advice, because they need the same advice, because they don't know who to turn to, right? And then of course we have LLM students that are trying to get foot in the door into the legal profession in the US, usually don't have a support system in the US. And to a lesser extent law students, but we're just starting to onboard them now. So it's mostly LLMs, solo practitioners, and big corporate lawyers that need the sense of community.
That's like everybody, Milana. Let's be honest. That's exactly. Every like female lawyer. So all right. So are you accepting other jurisdictions yet besides New York?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, this year, if everything goes according to plan, I want to establish a critical masses. We already started. We're already in 15 states. We have members in 15 states. Actually, very interesting. We have members in 15 states. We speak more than 20 languages. Most of us are immigrants. And people of color.
Wow, okay.
So we are extremely diverse. It's an extremely diverse. If you need like someone to speak some language, we got it.
Yeah.
But look, I want to establish chapters, and we have solid plans to do so in LA, Boston, Miami, maybe Chicago if we can get there in time. But we need a critical mass for those chapters to function by themselves or well, so that's what we're working on this year.
So Milana, like, we're starting Lawyer Stories Connect in a few months, and like, we want to definitely talk to you about how there's some synergy, and like, we'll figure it out some way or another. But
for sure,
I've always been like big on community. Like I see community. I have this like mind that sees like community on Instagram. I go on Instagram and I see the same people, not because I follow them, but they're always the same people speaking at
Right.
events in California or New York, doing like, at trial. Like it just seems like the same group of people, but there's so many people, so many lawyers, like in the
Mm-hmm.
UK, but we just see this like community. I believe that it's all community
It
on
is a
Instagram, like
community.
no matter where you are. So I guess my question to you is like, what does community mean to you? Like with I Will?
Yeah, I mean, look, our community is a place where you don't have to have a mask. You don't have to pretend that you know everything. You can come back to your individual self, and connect as a person, not just a lawyer.
Mhm.
And you have the assurance that, if you called someone, be it in the middle of the day, they would pick up the phone, because you to them matter. And it's not just
Yeah.
business, right? It's a connection. It's a
Yep.
connection, to another person. So we
Right.
kind of scale it. We remove these things that make law hard. Like I always know everything. I'm always prepared. Like we
Right.
remove the facades of lawyers and we say, before you were a lawyer, what did you want to do? And it turns out we have these open conversations. Sometimes we exchange templates. We refer each other clients. We are going on a Puerto Rico yoga retreat in April.
Awesome.
We're doing all of these things. Our kind of magic is that, we are doing things we wish we did for fun, but we're doing it with the women that can also help build your business, can help you, get on a panel, can just, do business with you too, right? So you're doing fun stuff, but you're meeting the right people, right?
Right.
So
I can like, I just sense like that you're so passionate about this. Like this is definitely a group that I would want to be a part of.
yeah,
If like, there's like a gender thing there, but like what,
we
so,
accept allies. We accept
all
allies.
right,
I
well, I'll
mean,
be
we
an
have.
ally, but tell, like you're just so passionate. So
Yeah.
like what, like, I guess I want to ask like how, like, is this like the one of the things you've been like most passionate about like in your lifetime, like growing this community? Like I feel like you love community as much as I do. Like I, love my Instagram community, like my community of people in lawyer
Mhm.
stories, like meeting
It
people.
shows.
What's that?
It shows. It shows that you care
Yeah,
about
and
your
I
people.
care about, like I've seen like people go from like law students to graduates to like, like it's funny. It is
Yeah.
kind of it's like, hey, like what happened to this like over here,
Yeah.
Like so like tell me about like your passion like for it. Like how, like why should people like join I Will?
Look, I mean, it's interesting because it seems like everything I've done, set me up to do it.
Yep.
My work experience, having candid conversations, with dozens and dozens of women and clients in cases to see the patterns, my fighting spirit to find the solution, right? So I don't know if it's, I've had other things that I wanted to do. Like in my cases for my clients, I'm as passionate. I think that's why my clients, but that's why I have a book of business and I have like a small
Yeah.
client following, right? Because for me, each fight is individual. So, here it's a group fight. Yeah. And I think you hear so much passion because I see, how do I say it? I see, instead of addressing trauma after it happens, right? And lawyers are kind of in the business of trauma. No one calls lawyers when they're super happy, right? Unless it's like some startup lawyer, or whatnot. But
Unless you win the lottery and like you need like a lawyer to kind of like
yeah,
help you with all the money. Yeah.
right. But it's all risk, right?
Yeah.
But here I just see so much opportunity for making something greater, right?
Yep.
And it's such a privilege to call another woman, not when she's like, just the same, I don't know what I'm doing, but
Right.
when she's like, hey, I got the client, I did the thing, I
Yep.
was valued,
Like they
yeah, I
want to
mean,
tell you, right? And you're just sort of like, that's awesome. Like, let's publish it in our newsletter, sort of thing.
that's right. That's right.
'Cause,
That's right. I mean, yeah, our platform, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do
yeah,
with framing, highlighting, reminding,
yeah,
affirming our members to
that's
tell them,
right.
you
That's
are
right.
amazing. Do you remember? Because so many women are
And
bad
that
at
that
advertising.
makes you feel good, though. Making other
I
people
love it.
feel good
I love it.
makes you feel good, right?
Yeah, I'm not really driven by, I know I have to do more of it. I've spoken, since I'm doing this, people are like, you have to do your own personal brand. You have to be more of client, you have to be more in the center of this thing. But the truth is, I'm not driven by individual fame or gain or whatever. I'm driven. Look, all of this money and business, it comes if you're doing the right thing, if you're passionate,
right.
you're hardworking, whatever, right? But that is not my reason why. My
Right.
why is the experience. If you come to any of our events, you feel the buzzing, you feel the magic, you see the soft faces, you see them be like elevated, into a place that we don't often get to be. We are so hard. We're always fighting. We're opposing counsel. We're writing emails.
That's right.
But
That's how I
with
actually
us,
describe my podcast. It's casual and comfortable in conversation. Like I understand, like everybody's out there like trying to one up each other and trying to fight each other, trying to win an argument, and like it doesn't always have to be like that.
I don't think it has to be that way at all. I mean, I think if you're unique and you have a competitive advantage, and everyone does, you just have to find your unique light. That's how when I coach in trial advocacy in Fordham,
Yep.
I work with students to find, Fordham is pretty high on like trial advocacy. I think they're like 6th in the nation or 8th in the nation.
Wow.
We compete against like Ivy Leagues and whatever.
Yeah.
And my teams have always either advanced or took some awards home.
Yep.
And the reason they do so well out of like 200 or like 50 teams or something, right, is because I often look for the talent of the student, the unique voice. If you're a loud person, be loud. If you speak softly, but you're very credible, let's work with that.
That's awesome. So, I love that. So you're looking for the strengths of people.
Of course. So I don't believe this standardization, and we have to be all in the same pool competing. What I have, you don't have. What you have, I don't have. So why not shine? So to me, it's not a competition, right? I'm not competing against anyone, and my community is not competing against anyone. We're reflecting each other's best parts.
I love that. That's so important. That's so important. I love that. Where do you see IWILL in the next 5 years?
On top of the world.
All right, there we go.
I mean, ambition is a thing. No, I'm kidding. Look, I hope if, making it a business, right? It's a passion project for sure. But what I'm learning is that I'm a lawyer. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm learning that there's a lot of moving parts. There is now that the community's administrative costs, there is to get facilitators, like we have facilitators that do mental health events, that do styling events, that do career events. All of that requires money. So if I'm successful in monetizing it in a way where it can sustain itself and grow and deliver value to large scale,
it's all about the value. Yep.
Yeah. Well, value we have. The question is, how many people can we handle, right? Because we have 100 people now, right? But it's going to be 1,000 people. Am I going to be successful as an entrepreneur in scaling it and making it work? But if I am, then I hope we see a chapter, in every large city and, every small city too, because there is no other organization of its kind for women in law that is holistic, that, we have 4 pillars, mental, like health, like actual, like fitness, medical health, mental health, financial education, career development. And then the 4th pillar we have is pleasure and joy, like playfulness.
I like that one. Playfulness.
Yeah.
Right, bring it on. Let's go.
It's not.
Can I get an IWILL t-shirt that says playfulness on it?
We are working on a merch. We are working. We have prints.
I want the playfulness t-shirt. I'll be the model from Lawyer Stories. Just send me a t-shirt.
Totally.
Playfulness.
Right. I mean, look, playfulness.
No, I love that. I love that because it's like your mission statement broken down into 4 pillars.
That's right.
You're serious about it, and I think there's a big synergy between what you're doing and what we're doing. Sure. Stories connect. Watch out, world.
That's right. But you know, with playfulness, as we grow up, we're so caught up on being
Yes.
so serious that we forget about joy. And to me,
Right.
playfulness, curiosity, is not negotiable. You know, if your mind is alive and your senses are alive, you're going to be more fulfilled. And if you're more fulfilled, you can endure more things. And if you can endure more things, you know, you fortify like everything you do. So that's why, you know, I think these kind of harsh lines of law and this idea that we're gunners and we're always competing is what breaks a lot of people and why they drop
Yep.
out, you know.
Yep.
Instead we don't have to be soft and be a badass lawyer. Why not?
Yeah, totally. Uh, Milana Dostanitch, is there anything else that we left out today that you wanna say, either about your own personal journey or about I Will?
Well, I think two things. I think look, I've had a uniquely harsh story. I mean, there's harsher,
Yeah.
but I think wherever someone is, you know, this idea that your choices matter, that your actions matter, that little steps and little actions add up to big results is extremely important. It empowers you and it allows you to build whatever you want in this life. You know, we are designers of our own kind of destiny. You know, we're the cinematographer of our own movie, you know. So I would encourage anyone who finds themselves in a place where they're not sure, you know, just to start taking those steps with the idea that one day those steps will yield the right results. You know, it's
Yeah.
just about starting. And last thing I'll say for I Will, I encourage anyone who's a woman in law, anywhere in the US, of course, to join us. You know, we are a vibrant community. We are growing, and members that are joining now, they are very heard. They're participate in the way to shape our community. So I would love to see more people join us, of course.
That's awesome. And we'll do the best that we can. And we're going to talk offline and hopefully
Yeah,
be up in New York in a few months. But
totally.
Milana, thank you so much for coming on today. Like, it's such a
Yes.
pleasure with, you know, your story is tremendous and congratulations on all your success.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. And look, I'm sure Lawyer Stories Connect and I will do great things together.
Thank you very much. Stay right there. Everybody else, thanks for tuning in wherever you are in the world today. Enjoy yourselves. Cheers.